Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Introducing RapidMiner 7.5. I'm Haley Matisa with RapidMiner, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We're joined today by Jesus Puente, Product Manager here at RapidMiner. We'll get started in just a few minutes, but first a few housekeeping items for those on the line. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the on-demand version via email within 1 to 2 business days. Second, if you have any trouble with audio or video today, your best bet is to try logging out and logging back in, which should resolve the issue in most cases. Finally, we'll have a question and answer session at the end of today's presentation. Please feel free to ask questions at any time via the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll leave time at the end to get to everyone's questions. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Jesus now.
Thank you, Haley. And thank you everyone for attending. So we have organized this webinar because we wanted to show you what's new in RapidMiner 7.5. This is a version that we released last week, and there are a few nice things that we hope you like. So going to the agenda, these are some of these new features. We have a new referral program, some improvements in performance following what we had already released in the previous version. Better integration with cloud environments, which is something that we see more and more demand on, and some more things like communication, better graphs, and a few more new features in RapidMiner integration with Hadoop. So starting with the referral program, this is something we have added because we want our community to also benefit from all this growth that we are seeing in RapidMiner use, and what happens now is that you can, if you have a friend or a colleague that you think would be useful if for him to use RapidMiner, then you can refer him, and then once he registers, both you and your colleague receive a bonus of 10,000 additional rows in your licenses. So this is for free users. If you remember, the limit in the license, the free license is 10,000 rows in the data set. With each new referral, you would get 10,000 additional rows, both you and the person you refer, until well, you get the limit of 50,000 rows. This works with, this is the new site in our website, the new page in our website, where you can simply type the email of your friend or your colleague. He will receive the invitation, and once he registers in our website, then both of you get this additional bonus license, right? This is something interesting, as I say, to engage more our community. Apart from that, more on the product side of things, we also have new improvements in performance. If you remember from version 7.4, we have already been working on improving performance in different ways. Last time it was more about parallelization and getting faster processes. This time it's more about memory. So we have a new data management system. That's basically what happens with the data between one operator and the next one, or when one reading operator is run. And we have added a few more things. For example, now we have a lower memory footprint. That means that each data set is occupying less memory. That means for users that with the same amount of physical memory, you can process more data or larger data sets. Also, we now detect sparse data sets, and we have special structures to handle them. That means Sparse data sets are those which are mostly zeros everywhere, except for some values here and there. Those types of data sets, for example, appear usually when you have a pivoting, or when you have, for example, in text analytics, when you have different word analysis, so different text have different word sets and so on. So those also benefit a lot from this new data management. Also, we have different management nodes. We have seen that sometimes there is a trade-off between speed and memory consumption. So we let you decide in some cases whether you prefer speed optimized or memory optimized mode. And also we have moved to a columnar format, which significantly improves performance in some data preparation tasks. So in general, all this is improving the ETL processes, the data preparation processes. So let me show you. I think demo is always the best way to see things. So let me show you this kind of process. This is an example where I have some user logins in a website. Similar example would be with sessions, and I have the timestamps when this happened. And I want to calculate some averages, like between different logins. So I have to go through the whole table and subtract some timestamps, right? This is something that we can do. So if I go here, let me remove the and then if I run it like that, what happens is I'm doing quite a complex ETL process inside this loop, which means that I'm going to use a lot of memory. I can see the increase now, but because I'm using this new data management system, the increasing memory is under control, right? By the way, and just to provide a comparison, and also for people just in case that, any problem would come out, we have a new parameter. You use legacy data system that you can use. So if you run your processes with the legacy data system, what happens is that as in this case, we can see the memory, it's already there, but it will increase. And because of this memory increase, it will also go much slower in this case. So as I say, this is mostly for the memory. In some cases, this memory improvement also means a big improvement in performance, in speed, like in this example with a lot of ETL and so on. As you can see here, this goes up and takes up all the memory in my laptop, and at this point it gets really slow. So it will take up instead of a few seconds, like something like a couple of minutes or so. But as I say, it depends. It's the objective of this was improving the memory, avoiding some memory blow-ups in some processes, and as a side effect, it's improving general performance and speed in some processes, but it won't affect all processes in the same way, right? It's also finishing, as you can see, much more slowly than before. This here it is, the end. If we can see the results, it has been from 20 seconds to 120, so 5 times the same amount of time, right? Okay, so this is the new data management system. Let me go back to the presentation. We also have some improvements in performance in the big data area, so in our Hadoop extension. And we have done two things here. One is now this loop and loop attribute operators are run in parallel which means that we can actually run multiple jobs at the same time in the cluster, and that obviously gives an improvement in performance. And the other thing is that we have also, let me maybe also explain this in the tool. So this is the one typical ETL or data preparation process within Hadoop. So everything is done using Hive-related operators, and we have seen in the past months, well, even years, that people is moving from MapReduce based jobs to Spark based jobs. We already have all of our, or most of our machine learning algorithms like decision trees and logistic regression and the like based on Spark, but ETL is still based on Hive. However, Hive now has the option to be run on Spark. So Spark is the execution layer of Hive. Also Tez is an option. MapReduce is still an option, but we see more and more demand for Spark. So what we have done is also optimize the way these processes can be run in Hive on Spark, right? So we have in our connections, we have a new option, Hive on Spark container reuse, and with that, what we have is that if each process is taking different steps, so we already have an optimization, like all of this, for example, that you see running, are taken together in a single SQL, Hive SQL query. So, but there are different steps here because of the pivoting, of the generating attributes, and so on. All those will be reusing the same Spark containers, and that means that we are avoiding a lot of time starting and stopping those containers. This one takes a couple of minutes, so let me just show you some results that I have in previous runs that I have just had before the webinar. So if you use the old version, you have like 8 minutes of time. If you use this container reuse option, it goes down to 4. And in fact, if you rerun, because the first time you have to actually start the first container, it goes down to 2. So as you can see, the difference is very big. In this case, the time is cut in half. In fact, this times could be a bit misleading because what we are doing is actually cutting the latency, right? So what this means is that we are reducing the time of those 4 to 6 minutes, right? So if this process were to run in some bigger data, right? This one is relatively small, so that it would take, let's say, half an hour or an hour. What would happen is we would cut down those 4 to 6 minutes, which is still very meaningful in half an hour or an hour processes, and that also depends a lot on what kind of process. I mean, this obviously ETL-based processes are the ones that benefit most in this case, right? So that's really the big advantage of this new version in Hadoop environments, or Hadoop environments, right? That's another feature that we have added. Another one is related to cloud platforms, right? So we see more and more people having their data in Amazon S3 or in Microsoft Azure environments. We already had a connector for Amazon S3, but it did not support encryption. So we have now added that support. So now you can read, write, and also loop files stored in Amazon S3, and we have also added support for Azure Blob, right, which is the equivalent of on Microsoft's platform. In general, both in S3 and Blob, you can store any kind of file, images, data files, whatever. In our case, it's obviously mostly directed to data files, CSV files, and the like. So let me again show you. Let me go, for example, to my S3 environment. See if it connects. So I have this particular packet. It's empty by now, so I can go to my process. Yes, terminate. Don't need to see that. And this is sorry, S3. It's this one. So in S3, I can get my connection. Connection is very simple. So I just need my access key, secret key, region as usual. And then this is the new thing that we have added. We can use this key, or well, the key that you generate in your AWS S3 account, right? And we can that way read and write encrypted files. For example, I just have to here state which well, folder, and so this is the packet name really, and the file. And if I just run, it immediately connects to Amazon, and we'll be able to see now these. If I refresh, we'll see this file that I have just uploaded, right? And of course, writing there is useful if you want to store there, for example, results of a process, but more useful is, of course, being able to read, because then we add these as a kind of, let me, by the way, remove this legacy thing that I had stated, because you can use Amazon S3 as yet another data source. So you can read from Amazon, or you can read from a database, or from a file, or from Hadoop, and then join or do anything with the data. In this case, I'm reading a CSV file, so I can use this operator to make it become just a standard example set and do. If you see, this is exactly the same process I had been using for the data management example, right? So just something like that. Similar thing with Blob. So if I go to my Azure account, again I have a folder which is by now empty. Let me connect to it. So here it is. This is the folder I've created, and it's nothing, no blobs found. Then I can go to my process and see my account. In this case, it's even simpler. It's just the account name and the key, and we can choose HTTP or HTTPS. We can test, and then once I have my connection, I can again open a file that I have locally. In this case, in my file system, it's written. I refresh here. There it is. And once the files are there, I can use that in just any kind of process where I could read, in this case, and directly process, but of course I could merge with anything in a database, in a file, or any other data source, right? That's the key. And again, use it in any kind of process, right? That's about integration with cloud platforms. As I say, it's something that we see more and more often, this demand for being able to read and write processes. I have shown, by the way, read and write, but we can also loop. So if you have a folder with a number of files, both in Azure or in S3, you can loop around them and process them as needed. More new things, so improved communication with our users, our tutorials. One of the things we have created is this in-product mechanism. So the idea is that pop-up messages can be triggered, and we provide this way help, advice, even announcements. So you might have seen, if you have downloaded 7.5, there is a message saying, well, now you have this new data management core that you can try. You have more information here. Or if you download, let's say, text processing extension, you can try and maybe watch this video that explains how it works, and so on. So it's the way for people to learn more easily, to, well, display this kind of messages, right? If it looks more or less like this, right? Let me try this a few things. This is just a test message. So the idea is from the right hand side, a message will slide, and just like this. In this case, it's unrelated because it's a test, but this is what you get. So just the mention of why, well, this message is appearing, and then you can click. You can just close, or you can click here, and then you go to a certain, in this case, a video that explains text mining with RapidMiner, or whatever applies in each case, right? Obviously, we are aware that sometimes pop-up messages can be annoying, so we really make sure that this is just appearing with useful messages, and just the number of times that, well, a reasonable number of times, right? That's about this in-product messaging. Something also related to making easier the learning curve and so on is additional tutorials, right? So we have added a couple more. So let me show you here in tutorials. We had this basics, modeling, and so on, the ones that we already had, and we have added a couple of tutorials for Server and for Hadoop, right? So if I click here, for example, I see that there is an explanation, and we can check and have examples on how to, in this case, connect to the RapidMiner server, how to use the repository, how to run processes there, how to get the results, and similarly with Hadoop. So we can check Hadoop 1 and see how I can install it, how I can review the connection, but especially how I can work with it, right? It's more how I can get into the nest, how I can create a machine learning process or an analytics process and deploy it and run it on Hadoop, right? This is what we have added, these two new tutorials, right? Going back to the slides, apart from those new things, we have some nice improvements in the graphs that we show for models, basically. So we have really revised those, especially for decision trees and clustering, and there are also minor revisions for other graphs. Let me show some of that to you. So going back to here to the graphs, if I run this just to generate some some graphs. One is the decision tree. So if you remember how it was previously, there are a few changes. Well, you can also move them around. You can move the different leaves or branches of the tree just to make them clearer if you want to analyze. As you can see, whenever I click on one of these leaves, the path that it has followed is highlighted, so it's clear that this node comes from female less than 4.5 and so on and so forth. So I can actually see which attributes were used for this or that prediction. If I just hover here, there is more information, like here I can see the number of items, the ratio of the total that this leaf provides, number of yes versus number of no in this case. You can also see that the size of the arrows is different in each case. This size depends on the number of cases that goes along this branch or this one. So it's easier to see that this one, for example, is very thick. It's an important branch, while this one, for example, is very thin. So very few examples go this way. So you can just by taking a quick look at the tree, you can see which branches or which decisions are very relevant and which are not so much. We can still zoom. Well, this was already there, and that's how this one has improved. Also, clusters. This one is quite simple one, but one of the things, well, again, you can move things around. It's easier to see. And also very interesting is now that the size of these circles depends on the size of the segment or the cluster, which means that it's also, if you have especially lots of clusters or segments, you can see at first sight which ones are big or small, which ones are relevant, or just a marginal number of examples go to that segment, right? These are some of the improvements. Going back to the slides, then we have a couple of interesting improvements related to Hadoop. One for just the machine learning and another for security. So one is related to the SparkRM operator. You maybe remember from the last version that we introduced this SparkRM operator. What it does is it's able to, it can contain, if I double click here, you see this is not a Hadoop operator, it's just a standard RapidMiner operator, a decision tree. I could add here just any operator from RapidMiner, even from an extension. I could even add several of them, so any process, so a kind of RapidMiner visual script I can introduce inside SparkRM, and then what happens is that this script or this operator is packaged as a jar and sent to Spark for execution. This is done in parallel, and the way it is parallelized is by splitting the input and sending part of the input to each of the nodes of the cluster in the Hadoop cluster. Each of those nodes will solve part of the problem, or in this case train the tree with part of the data, and there are several ways to partition the data. Like linear means whatever partition is already there in the cluster. Random means I want to do it in 10 different partitions, 10 different parts, for example, or 5, or any number. Attribute is related to the to the attribute. So basically this is like looping in the values, possible values of this attribute. And in this case, in this version we have added also this bootstrapping mode, which is very similar to the bootstrapping that one does in certain backend models in random forest, for example, and the like. So we have seen that if you have some output here in SparkRM, which is typically a collection of models, if what you are doing is training a model, you get a collection of models that you can then combine as a voting model. So it's very useful to have this bootstrap as another way to make this model combination more meaningful. So this bootstrapping, what it does, it creates different samples of the input data with replacement, and then what you get out of it is this collection of models which can be combined, and you get, for example, if this is a tree, what you would get is something like a decision tree, right? So this is an option. As you can see, it's an improvement in the machine learning capabilities of this SparkRM operator, right? There is another improvement here in Hadoop, which is related to security setting. This is, by the way, coming from a request from a user. In the Hadoop connections, if you so we require a database, which is basically the database that we use for temporary tables, and also for storing the UDFs. UDFs are the user-defined functions that we use to enhance the Hive capabilities, to add some things like the pivoting and some other functionality. So we store, as I say, both these functions and the temporary tables in this database, let's say a Hadoop database. Now, for the temporary tables, we need to be able to read and write and remove, because it's just temporary data. So we need a lot of permissions. While for UDFs, this is not necessary. So what this user asked us is, well, I would like to have UDFs in a standard environment, while these temporary tables I would like to fully sandbox, so that users that can access that cannot do anything else outside that. So just to sandbox all these very high permissions that we need for temporary tables, where we really need to read, write, and even remove, right? So that's why now we have an additional option, use custom database for UDFs. So if you are in this case and you want to have this increased security, you can use one database, one Hadoop database for temporary tables, and another one for the UDFs, and set different permissions for both. Okay, so that's basically what I had. Those are the new things. Apart from that, I would like to take the opportunity, now that I have all these RapidMiner users, if you could just take 30 seconds to show your support for RapidMiner sorry, just by voting here this year's KD Nuggets poll. They're just asking what software you used in the past 12 months for machine learning, analytics, data mining, and so on. So we would love to see you vote for us here, so that, well, this poll shows how big our community is. So yeah, thanks a lot for your support. Thanks in advance. And so that's it, I think. We can maybe go for the question and answer session now.
Thanks, Jesus. So I'll just wrap up. I want to thank you for your presentation. That was great. And just remind those on the line that we're going to be sending a recording of today's presentation within the next few business days via email to the email that you registered with. So like Jesus said, if you guys have questions, we've seen a bunch of questions come in, so feel free to type those questions in the questions panel and we'll go ahead and address those now.
Okay, so yeah, I see some have already been answered. So regarding tutorials, yes, these two tutorials have been added as I've said, server and Hadoop. There was the row limit. So yeah, the row limit is, as Lars has already said, it's in 10K, and then you can get more by referring to friends or colleagues. So with regarding another question about GPU support, we don't have that at the moment. It's something that we have had in the radar for some time, and as we see more adoption or more demand for those technologies, we'll consider. But at the moment, it's not there yet. So there is another question about the ETL process. So does RapidMiner simply do the ETL process? If so, how? So in some of the examples that I've shown, for example, those are purely ETL processes. In general, I would say that RapidMiner's strongest point is on the machine learning algorithms. However, we do provide very good ETL, or rather, I would say, data preparation capabilities. What we offer is mostly focused on being able to then apply machine learning algorithms, right? So that's what we focus on. But because if you want to have that algorithm being run, you need the data to be well processed and prepared. That's why we offer quite a lot of ETL capabilities. So in general terms, you could even just create pure ETL processes in RapidMiner, yes.
Jesus, I have one question here for you that I can see. It's asking, can I see the server tutorial even if I don't have a server connection?
Yes, so that's also one of the ideas. Both the Hadoop and server tutorials can be seen even if you don't have any of either server or Hadoop. We did that because one of the ideas was also to point these products to people. So we know that many people are using RapidMiner just for prototyping, just for designing the process, and they maybe don't know that you can also operationalize the processes. You can also run them on Hadoop, operationalize them on Hadoop. So we wanted them to be available to everyone. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Another question here that I see is, how does bootstrapping improve the capabilities of Spark RM?
So yeah, this bootstrapping is increasing the options that you have for really combining the models after the execution. So if you don't use this bootstrapping, basically what you get is a collection of models, and then you can do two things. If you have opted for a random split of the data, random partitioning, then you have mostly equivalent models, and so you can combine them in a pure voting model. That's one of the options. The other is if you have attribute-based partition mode, then what makes sense is probably to split that collection of models and then use each one for the data that it was specifically trained for. And then now we have this other option like the bootstrapping, because then with the bootstrapping the data is resampled, and then you can get sometimes a much better voting or bagging model as an output, right? So that's adding, as I say, machine learning capabilities, better modeling for that.
Jesus, one question that just came in, how can we integrate different plugin like call Java C components from RapidMiner?
Well, Java code is available. There is an execute script that you can use to run Java code, and I mean it's based on Groovy, but Java can be run from there. We don't have a specific way to run C++. We can integrate with operating system executions, so you can actually run, for example, operating system scripts, or you can actually run, for example, an exe file. So I mean, so it's not a direct integration with C++, but you can, let's say, run external scripts or programs, and you can use that, let's say, as a bridge to run C++ things.
One more question here. This person is asking, what are the various ways to operationalize the models developed in Explore?
What do you mean by explore? In exploring the data in RapidMiner? I don't. I mean, the ways of operationalizing in general are based mostly on the server. So when you copy your processes in the server, then you are able to schedule those processes, so run them every day, let's say, or every week, or also based on triggers. You can run processes whenever something external to RapidMiner happens. You can publish, by the way, all processes as web services, so you can directly call this web services API, and that way you can, let's say, operationalize. So for example, I've seen the last question by the same person saying, well, does RapidMiner API consume input parameters while calling them? The answer is yes. So if you publish any process as a web service, then you can also send parameters that you leave open. But you need to create those parameters as macros within the process, and then you can give the actual values when you call this web services. That's the way you would operationalize. Right? Another thing, by the way, related to this previous question of calling Java components and so on, is we have an open API that allows you to create your own operators. So apart from just simply using our own, so you can execute, let me, for example, just quickly show it. You can execute a script here and then create different Java scripts. In fact, it's a Groovy script. You can execute of course, Python and so on. But if you execute programs, you can just directly call an operating system command. This is what I was talking about. But you can actually create your own operators. So we have an API. You can create your own extension, like well, some people in our community already is doing. And then this is a Java API, by the way. But then you are very, very free to just do whatever you like and create anything that processes your data and call different your own libraries and so on. So there is a lot of freedom in that sense.
Great, thanks, Jesus. So thanks to everyone on the line as well. So hopefully we were able to address your question here on the line, and if not, we'll make sure to follow up with you via email within the next few business days. So thanks again, Jesus, for your presentation, and thanks again to everyone for joining us for today's presentation, and I hope everyone has a great day.